You can open up with a statement, and then we'll move along to Delegate Dillard.
Well, I've been following closely of course, the breaking news of the thesis, and quite frankly, for somebody that served with Bob for years, and it's certainly not a condemnation of Bob, but the thesis certainly didn't have any surprises in it for me. He's a tremendously good person. I've always felt like there's room, in the legislature for folks that are focused on issues like Bob was, which seem to be mostly social issues and crime issues. But when I look at the governor's race and how important and how broad the issues are that the governor has to deal with, I'd certainly like to see somebody with a little broader brush. I think that has a lot to do with why, so far when he's come out with his jobs plan, the first thing he did was appoint a job czar. If you look at Bob's record, I don't think Bob, he never was in those meetings we had when we were discussing economic development and issues that were important to the commerce committees and things like that. Well, I think that was a misstep, and the transportation plan he had that while it sounded real good on paper, I'd love to see how the legislature would tackle with the probably about $500 million to $1 billion a year cuts that he would have to do to the general fund in order to fund this program after they're just going through one big round of cuts and getting ready to go through another. And even the most conservative legislators are starting to squeal that it's going to really hurt. So it doesn't surprise me. I think Bob's focus mostly has been, on social and crime issues, and I don't see any changes in that.
Thank you, Senator. We'll now go to Delegate Dillard, Fairfax County.
Right. Well, I certainly reflect a lot of things that Senator Williams has said. All of us have served with Bob for a long time, so we know him pretty well, and we really know him by his record. And his record has been one of pushing social issues in the entire time he's been in the Assembly. And so for him to now to try to back away from that is the total sort of reinvention of Bob McDonnell so he can be governor. But not only was there no surprise in the thesis, because that's been his general feeling right along, I think we also ought to mention some of the stuff that's now more current. And when Cree was up here in Northern Virginia, the next day the Republicans said, well, Cree is just dusting off history. Well, I don't blame the Republicans for not wanting Cree to dust off the history, because it's a history that hopefully people will understand where Bob is coming from. He did not support the necessary funds to bring about the increase in educational funding, the increase in health care and in public safety. He opposed that, and the Republican caucus in the House opposed every step to move Virginia forward, and he was always part of that. And they said, well, that's a distortion of his record. Well, it's not a distortion of his record when he put in 35 bills to restrict a woman's right to choose. These are the facts, and these are the history of his record. This is the history of his record. And so this is the kind of thing that I think that is important for the Virginia public to understand, that the Bob McDonnell who is now running for governor is not the Bob McDonnell that we knew and served with in the General Assembly. And for him to disassociate himself, if you will, with these recorded votes is just, that's what's a misrepresentation of the facts, not what Cree has said about his record.
Thank you, Delegate. We'll now move on to Delegate Wendell from Richmond.
Well, before becoming an independent legislator, I was a Republican, and I was very active in the Republican Party. But while I was not aware of McDonnell's thesis, I've known Bob McDonnell for a long time. And he's the same now as he was then. I mean, you can say he's pretending to be someone that he is not. But, that old saying, you can run from yourself, but you can't run far. Because wherever you go, that's where you are. And he defends this thesis by saying, oh, that was 20 years ago. He wasn't a kid in college just writing his thesis. He was a 34-year-old married man with children, had completed college, and served in the Army, about ready to finish law school. So says that, oh, it's different now, but it's not different. What he did was, in that thesis, he laid out a plan to implement certain policies. And 2 years later, he entered the General Assembly and began promoting those policies. And the whole time I knew him, that's what he focused on. He focused on anti-choice legislation the whole time. He even promoted allowing pharmacists to refuse to fill prescriptions for contraception. And, you know, one of the things that he said was, in this thesis, was Republicans should pursue the passage of strong state anti-abortion laws, and that's exactly what he has done. And another thing that you might take note of is that it's in 2001, he even voted against a resolution promoting equal pay for men and women.
Oh, that's an important one.
Thank you, Delegate. Anyone who's, just a reminder, put yourself on mute if you're just listening in at this point. We're hearing a little bit of background noise. Now we'll go to Senator Potts from Winchester.
Hi, how are you? The thesis that I've been reading about is exactly who Bob McDonnell is. Any attempt by Bob, while I like him personally, his philosophical bent is just exactly in line with what that thesis says. And as chairman of the Senate Health and Education Committee, he brought 35 abortion bills in front of my committee. Every single one of them, I believe, was defeated, and he was out of the mainstream all those many years. Over the whole 16 years that we served together, he was out of step with the mainstream then. His bills were consistently voted down in the Senate Health and Education Committee. And, you know, in reading that thesis, you know, as the father of three daughters, three very successful young women, all with their master's degrees, I must say that my daughters were appalled at his comments, and also Christy, Katie, and Kelly, my three daughters, were appalled at his votes against equal pay. I can't imagine the three very capable daughters that my wife did a heck of a job of raising should be professionally disadvantaged in the whole pay scale issue. You know, the record is the record, and I was there when he opposed adamantly Governor Warner's plan to preserve our AAA bond rating that enabled us to be named the best managed state in the union under then Governor Warner's leadership, and also enabled us to be the most business-friendly state in the union. Not one time did I ever see him come forward with a jobs measure, an economic development measure, and as a matter of fact, he authored the ill-fated, horrible transportation plan that was nothing for nobody. I can remember making that speech on the floor. It was nothing for nobody then. It's nothing for nobody now. And his plan to sell the ABC stores is absolutely ill-advised for two reasons. One, we don't want a liquor store on every corner in Virginia, and two, this is the worst possible time to try to be selling anything. So his transportation plan will not address the number one problem in Virginia right now, and that's our road system. So if you want a governor who's going to focus for the next 4 years on social issues, then Bob McDonnell is your guy. If you want a governor who's going to address economic issues and the worst recession since the Great Depression, and creating jobs through fixing our roads and our bridges, then Creed Deeds is your guy.
Thank you, Senator.